weight of the world is resting on your shoulders. At least try to smile or you'll end up feeling colder.
Hi, my name is Lara Everly and I'm the director of Milk Money.
You just gotta keep rolling, rolling with the tide.
I am a mom. I have 2 kids, Leo, who is 5,
Ahoy, mateys!
and Ever, who is 3.
Mine's the goodest.
I always knew that I wanted to do something creative, and I always knew that I wanted to be a mom, so I'm a firm believer, and it's totally possible to do both. I do think Milk Money changed me. I think if you're a good filmmaker, your art should always change you. That's part of being an artist, is being sensitive and being malleable. So you create the art and the art creates you, and it's this give and take. And I think that you're always a little bit different after making a project. And I think if I, learned anything, it was just there really is no one way to parent. And that's what's cool about Milk Money, is we're just sitting there having a conversation with so many different parents and how they adapted to the challenges that life has thrown at them and how they've succeeded. My hope as a director for Milk Money was to normalize talking about money in relationship to children. There is so much curated mommy content, perfect looking portraits of motherhood. And I wasn't really interested in telling something that was highly curated or straight out of Pinterest. I wanted to tell the real story, have real conversations, not necessarily come in with all the answers, but raise the questions, talk about it, figure out how we're all doing it. One of my favorite episodes was Anna and Brian Kuhn in Yucca Valley, and that is an example of an episode where you think you're setting out to tell one story, but it winds up evolving into something else. We thought that it was really a story about commuting and the parent sacrifice, because Brian, the husband and father, had a 4-hour round trip commute from Yucca Valley, Joshua Tree area to Orange County where he worked. But there was something that didn't come up until I was there, and I was sitting there talking with Anna, and she had mentioned that she had had 2 late-term miscarriages and she had these sleepless nights, and so she took a weaving class as a way to just distract herself and busy her mind, and she started making these rainbows that became significant of the rainbow after the storm. And then she finally did have a viable pregnancy that stuck, and that was her second child, Leighton, and she calls that her rainbow baby. And suddenly it made sense why there were rainbows all over her house. And later that day, we were filming the family in their stock tank pool, which is like a big kind of like aluminum tub that people have in the desert. And this rainbow reflection appeared from the water in the camera, and both the cinematographer and I looked at each other like, do you see that? I also really felt grateful for being able to film on a Native American reservation in Navajo Nation with our episode Elena. That was something that I'm gonna hold on to for a long time. All the women in a family will live near each other. So there's Elena's house and her aunt's house and the mom's house, and they all go between each other's houses and cook for each other, and they all take care of each other's children and cousins or sisters, and it was such a beautiful way. And honestly, I think that's like kind of how kids were meant to be raised. I just think that community is so important to a mother's sanity, whether it's coming from friends or from your relatives or whatever it is. It's really hard to get by without community. And that's something that Joanna and Ray talked about, the Van Nuys Village. They have such a beautiful network of friends that support each other. It's just an open door policy. Family members and people are coming and going, and they have this adorable creative house, but it's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and there's just constantly friends over, and their sister lives in the back house, and it's just such a beautiful example of coming together and being a village. takes a village. Sean and Nick, our parents in the San Bernardino area, those two dads were so full of love. It's really expensive to have kids when you're two men. You're either looking at the cost of adoption like they did, or the cost of surrogacy, which is even more expensive, like $150,000. And their incredible gratitude, not only to be parents, but to even be married to each other, was so beautiful and so touching, and it was a real privilege check for me. What have I learned from my own mom? My mom is badass. We call her Ross the boss because she's the boss. She's in charge. And she gave me a great example of a working mom. She was involved, she knew all my friends' names, she would help me on my homework, but she also was super driven, and she was an entrepreneur, and she was a creative and a businesswoman. And my mom also always used to say, and still does, time is money. And that's something that has just been ingrained in my psyche. I think I've since learned the inverse is also true. Money is time, but they're both currencies, and there can be equal currencies. And there's nobody that understands the importance of time more than a working mom. All of us feel like there's just never enough time in the day, and so you have to make choices. Do I have enough ample time to do all these things myself and save some money, or do I not have enough time and am I better off investing in myself, delegating, getting some help, spending that money to have more time to sit down and have dinner with your family, more time to finish up a project that you need to get done, more time to maybe just sleep an hour, whatever it might be. But that interplay of both of those currencies is something that my mom has ingrained in me. My hope as a director for Milk Money was to normalize talking about money in relationship to children, to empower parents with some tips and tricks, but also just to be a friend in a corner, just to create a piece of relatable content. So really, Milk Money was a mom on a journey having this conversation about how to tackle the rising costs of raising children with all of the amazing moms and dads that we met in Milk Money.